Hi, I'm Stuart Ryan, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get started with the E chord. This one is common in all styles and all genres on guitar, and it's one of the easier chords to start off with as well. We're going to look at major chord shapes, minor chord shapes, open and bar chords. Let's get started with the open chord shapes. Here's the classic fingering for an open E major chord. I've got my second finger on the second fret of the A string, my third finger on the second fret of the D string, and my first finger on the first fret of the G string, and I play all 6 strings. And because of that, we can really kind of go crazy with the right hand on this chord. We don't have to worry about accuracy, just strike down all 6 together. Make sure you're really on the fingertips with this chord though. It's really easy to accidentally mute the B string with the first finger like this. So just try rolling the fingers onto the fingertips to make sure everything is clean and clear. Also, make sure you're applying enough pressure on those fingers so the strings don't choke out. If we don't have enough pressure, we'll start hearing things like this. So always make sure even pressure on all 3 fingers. And that's the chord you've heard in everything from Back in Black by AC/DC to Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Don't Stop by Fleetwood Mac. It's an absolute classic for a reason. An even easier chord is just to remove the first finger from the G string, and then we get the open E minor chord shape. And again, we play all 6 strings in that chord. The only thing to really watch out for there is the underside of the third finger, this one, isn't accidentally muting the G string, in which case you'll lose that string. So if that string's muted, just roll the fingers again, right onto the fingertips, and everything should clean up. If we refinger the open E major chord from here to these 3 fingers, that's the third finger on the A string, fourth finger on the D string, and second finger on the G string, we can then start moving into bar chord shapes. So I'm going to take that shape up 12 frets to here, and then I'll put an index finger bar across the 12th fret and play all 6 strings. Now with bar chords, you need to make sure you have enough pressure on the first finger, and also try rolling that first finger back onto the side of the finger where the bone is more prevalent. That will just help keeping those strings in place. You don't need to apply too much pressure, just apply a pinch between the finger and thumb, and then keep the other fingers in place, making sure everything is on the fingertips. If the chord at the 12th fret feels a bit awkward or sounds a bit too high, then try this one. We're going to take an open A major chord, move that shape up to the 9th fret, and then put a first finger bar across the 7th fret. And again, we need enough pressure on the bar to try and get that high E string ringing as well. And we need to make sure that there's enough pressure on these 3 fingers to keep those notes in place as well. If that feels awkward, you can try the alternate shape, which is the index finger bar across the 7th fret, but the third finger playing a partial bar across the 9th fret of the D, G and B strings like this. And with that shape, people generally avoid the high E string because it can be a little bit hard to get that string sounding cleanly against that third finger partial bar. If you want, you can also bring in the low open E string against that chord for a bigger sound like this. Here are some more variations which will add colour to the E chord. Back to the open E major shape down here. If we add the 4th finger to the 2nd fret of the B string, we get the major 6. That's an E major 6, which also contains the notes as a C sharp minor 7. It's a very kind of 1950s sounding chord, so it's great for rock and roll and rockabilly. You can also try an E7 chord, which is up here. That's the A shape. It's very similar to this bar chord we played a minute ago. But now we place more emphasis on the bar. So the bar's across fret 7. The third finger's on fret 9 of the D string. The fourth finger is on fret 9 of the B string. Now we really have to make sure we've got enough pressure on the bar to sound the note of fret 7 on the G string. So always arpeggiate these chords so you can hear each note in turn to hear if everything sounds clear. And you can also add the low E string to that chord again. And you'll hear that in tracks like the Beatles' I Saw Her Standing There. And finally, we can play an E major 9. This one's a little bit harder to play, but you'll hear it in everybody from John Mayer to Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's got a really rich sound. Here's the chord. So to build that one, I've got the second finger on the 7th fret of the A string, that's the root. The first finger on the 6th fret of the D string, that's the major 3rd, G sharp. The fourth finger goes on fret 8 of the G string, that's the major 7th. And then finally, the third finger goes on the 7th fret of the B string, that's the 9th of the F sharp. Play them all together. And in that chord, you can also add the 2 open E strings for a bigger sound. And then you have that gorgeous, big sounding E major 9 chord, which is a great alternative for an E major if it's the one chord in a progression. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed that. E chords are great and they're so common, so spend as much time as you can on all those shapes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe to Guitar World, and I'll see you again for the next one. Take care.